They said that Islam Makhachev would get the title shot up at 170 if you won this belt tonight. What do you think about that?
I think it's a beautiful challenge. You know, he's pound for pound number one. I'm going to get him back for Volk.
Fight could be Islam Makhachev. You spoke about it briefly. Your early thoughts on that potential matchup, because now everybody's going to want to know what's next as you look forward.
I mean, obviously the welterweight has a lot of good challenges, but I think if someone like Islam wants to step up, you've got to give him the shot. You know, pound for pound, one of the best, and it would be a dream to fight one of the best pound for pound guys in the world with my first.
Montreal, Canada, and Jack Della Maddalena just became a UFC champion. We talked about there being no UFC champs under 30 years old. Jack Della Maddalena is 28 and just beat Belal Muhammad over the course of 5 unbelievable rounds. One of the best 5th rounds I have seen in a title fight in a long time. Jack Della, while being ahead, was still trying to finish Belal Muhammad. No takedowns until the 4th round. His striking looked phenomenal. Cardio, everything about this guy's performance was champ.
And Islam's already tweeted at you a few times, and like the most recent one, he says, "You're not Volk. I'll show you there at different levels. Keep my belt clean." Do you have any response to Islam?
No, come get it. Come get it.
When I talked to Dana, at least promoting for the UFC, like I was talking to him this weekend, and he was telling me all the issues that they're having, and with different fights. Because I was asking him some questions, like, "What are you doing with this? What are you doing with that?" And he starts telling me, "Oh, this guy wants that, and this is why I want to fight this guy."
Did he told you something about me?
Maybe a little bit. If he did, I can't tell you. I did ask who you're gonna fight, and they said we're working on it.
Didn't you say you want to submit him?
Yeah, I can also submit him. To be honest, I always say that I represent the new generation of mixed martial arts, and what that means. Before, you were seeing guys in MMA, they were good in striking and maybe in wrestling, but their ground game wasn't that good. Or you see a guy who has a phenomenal ground game, he has a phenomenal striking, but his wrestling sucks. In my case, I'm good everywhere.
Выйдем, поговорим. Ну, у нас 100% будет какой-то разговор. Он постоянно говорит про меня, что-то хочет, наверное, донести. Я не понимаю, что он хочет донести. Выйдем, поговорим. Драться хочет. Подеремся, если можно будет.
From Octagon rumors to fight night confirmations, Joe Rogan just lit up the MMA world by saying Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria is a done deal for UFC 317. He's not the only one backing it either. Chael Sonnen and Daniel Cormier are in too. Buckle up, because UFC 317 is shaping up to be absolutely wild.
Islam's big. I mean, he easily could be fighting at 170. It's probably torture for him to get down to 155.
Yeah.
Whenever I interview him, I'm like, "How are you 155? This is so crazy."
That will show rough weight cuts for him, it seems like.
It's rough.
Yeah.
He's big. He's probably 190 plus. And Ilia Topuria is one of the absolute best fighters in the world. The dude is just fucking phenomenal. And one of the things that's phenomenal about him is his technique. He just sees that hand coming towards him and he's ducking. It's all like slight slips away, and it's slight motions, which is all you need.
Yo me estoy preparando para Islam Makhachev. Todos mis entrenamientos realmente están enfocados para Islam o para Charles, porque no veo ningún otro contrincante. Así que tengo esos dos nombres en mente.
Joe Rogan didn't just mention Makhachev versus Topuria, he fully endorsed it. On his podcast, he talked about how wild it'd be to see Ilia move up to lightweight and made it clear he's all in, even if Topuria's barely defended his featherweight belt. For Rogan, it's not about resumes, it's about making electrifying fights. He brushed off the usual title defense talk and basically said, why not make it happen now? And with the UFC hunting for a July main event, he sees this as the perfect storm. Rogan also spotlighted just how massive Islam Makhachev really is. According to him, standing next to Islam feels like standing next to a welterweight. He guessed Islam walks around at nearly 190 pounds, and it shows. He's thick, powerful, and deceptively large for someone cutting to 155. That sheer size makes this potential matchup even wilder. Topuria might be fast, explosive, and undefeated, but stepping into the cage with someone as physically dominant as Islam, that's a whole different monster. either. For Joe, this fight is pure chaos in the best way. A surging featherweight champ skipping the usual road to climb into the lion's den at lightweight and doing it against arguably the most dominant fighter in the division. And if the UFC wants fireworks in July, this could be the fight to deliver.
Happening at lightweight now. I hope, as crazy as it sounds, I hope Ilya goes up to 55. I really do.
What about
Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, 45.
I'll take that.
Ilya goes up to 55. Fuck, I don't care if he only defended the title one time or didn't.
Agree.
Who cares?
You want Ilya to fight Makhachev?
Let's go.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Let's
I think you
fucking go.
Face a couple of those guys first, like you just said.
Yeah, it'd be
Diego.
nice, but also, who cares? Let's go. Let's fucking go. That's if you want to make the big fight for July. You want to make that big fight in July. Is it the Volkanovski rematch? I don't know. I think Volkanovski's. People want to probably see him win one. Or like Islam. Islam Makhachev is huge. I mean, that guy, how he makes 155 is, I don't understand it. Every time I stand next to him, like, how are you 155?
How much do you think he walks around?
He's got to be 190-ish, in the 190 range. He's got to be. That's what he looks like to me.
I never saw him in person.
Yeah, he's thick. He's thick and big. I mean,
and Joe Rogan isn't the only one fueling the fire. Chael Sonnen just added even more heat to the rumor mill. On his own platform, Sonnen straight up said that UFC 317 is the destination for Ilia Toporia's next fight. And not just any fight, but one for the lightweight championship. Yep, Chael spoke about it like it's already a done deal. But here's where things get even more intriguing. According to Sonnen, there are two likely scenarios. Either Topuria challenges Islam Makhachev for the undisputed title, or this is the twist. Islam could be stripped before the event, opening the door for a vacant title fight. In that case, Topuria's opponent, Charles Oliveira. Chael didn't sound like he was speculating either. He laid it out with the kind of confidence that makes you think the contracts are already being drawn up behind the scenes. And for him, whether it's Ilia versus Islam or Ilia versus Oliveira, it's all blockbuster material. Sonnen's long been pushing for either matchup, believing they're headline-worthy and perfect for a pay-per-view main event.
UFC 317, which is right around the corner. UFC 317. Ilia Topuria will fight for the lightweight championship of the world. Now, it's relevant that you know this because he's either going to fight the lightweight champion in Islam Makhachev, or by 317, Islam will have been stripped, in which case the vacated title will still be 50% Ilia Topuria, but his opponent will be Charles Oliveira. Now, these sound like great ideas to me. I've been pushing pretty hard for Charles versus Ilia, and that was subsequent of a world title. I just thought that Charles versus Islam, or Ilia versus Islam, is a much bigger event.
Topuria is vacated, right? So that's the difference now is Topuria is saying, like, I'm no longer at that division. Like, I'm now at lightweight.
With the confidence from knocking out Holloway and Volkanovski back to back, he thinks that, yeah, I can knock these guys out. But the only fight he's had at 55, he's gotten dropped by Jai Herbert. And then we've seen him get, like, out-muscled and out-wrestled by a couple guys at 45. I think Islam's just going to be way too big for him.
I think he's the pound-for-pound number one right now.
Let's see Ilia Islam.
He wants that fight bad, and I think he can win. Happen. And what makes me think that Ilia will do really well against Islam is Volk's first fight with Islam. I'm like, man, I think Ilya's wrestling is way better than Volk's, and obviously you could see how the striking went, and he's been knocked out cold before.
Daniel Cormier just took the whole conversation to a new level, not with rumors, but with some serious backstage insight. In a recent video, DC broke down how Dana White basically gave away the UFC's next big moves without fully saying it outright. When asked directly whether Ilia Topuria will be fighting either Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title during International Fight Week, Dana didn't dodge. He just smirked and said, "That's pretty accurate." And if you know how Dana operates, that response might as well be a green light. DC also pointed out that this wasn't just some random hype. It was backed by an actual clip of Ilia speaking on Spanish TV, confirming he's training for a fight in June, even though he didn't name his opponent. Ilia stayed cryptic but confident, saying things like, trying to take him down is one thing, actually doing it is another. You could tell from his tone that he was gearing up for a monster matchup.
Dana White knows what he wants to tell and what he's willing to tell. So by him answering this question, Dana, Ilia Topuria said, I don't know the words, said he's going to fight either Islam or Charles Oliveira for the title in June, International Fight Week. Is this true? Or is it accurate? Dana goes, that's pretty accurate, right? So essentially, that clip that we saw, Luis, play the clip of Ilia Topuria on that Spanish TV show speaking about his fight at International Fight Week.
Y que será en Las Vegas el 28 de junio. Y es que todavía no sabes contra quién vas a pelear.
No, que es Islam y es Charles.
Si es Makhachev, te va a intentar tirar al suelo. Y tú dices,
claro,
tú dices que el suelo es un punto.
Intentarlo y conseguirlo hay una gran diferencia.
As you see there, the interviewer is asking Topuria who he's fighting, but Topuria is saying he doesn't know who yet, right? And he starts to kind of talk about matchups, and Ilia is like, well, trying to take me down and taking me down is two different things. We're going to see what happens.
But here's where Cormier really connected the dots. He explained that the announcement isn't happening in a vacuum. It ties directly into what's about to go down this weekend. The welterweight title fight between Belal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena might just decide the future of not one, but two divisions. Why? Because Islam Makhachev has made it clear he wants to move up and challenge for the 170 belt. And according to DC, Islam is already this close to making it happen. The only reason he hasn't taken that leap? Loyalty. His close friend Belal Muhammad is in the title mix, but if Jack Della Maddalena wins and takes that belt, Islam's path is wide open. Dana even confirmed it. If Jack wins, there's a real possibility we'll see Islam versus Jack for the welterweight title next. And what happens then? It leaves the lightweight belt wide open. That's where Ilia versus Oliveira comes in. If Islam vacates, Dana already has the pieces lined up. Ilia Topuria, the undefeated featherweight champ, going for double gold against Charles Oliveira, one of the most dangerous lightweights in UFC history. So when DC says something's happening now, he's not exaggerating. It's all clicking into place. And this weekend's results might just lock in two massive title fights at once.
Literally standing on the doorstep of a championship fight. And the only reason he's not going in to fight is because his friend Belal Muhammad is the champion. Jack Della Maddalena wins this weekend. Islam's getting a title fight. That's what Dana told us last night. Dana told us last night at that presser that if Makhachev and Della Maddalena for the welterweight championship is a possibility, they are taking that. And exactly what Ilia Topuria told you, he will then fight Charles Oliveira for the UFC lightweight.
So after hearing all that from DC, the hints from Dana, the possibilities for Islam at 170, and the chaos at lightweight, you'd think everyone's fully on board with Ilia Topuria stepping up, right? Well, not exactly. Belal Muhammad, who's always been pretty honest about how this game works, isn't sold on the idea. From his point of view, Ilia hasn't done enough to walk straight into a title shot at 155. Belal's take, let him earn it. And he's not wrong to ask the question. Volkanovski got his shot after defending his featherweight belt multiple times. Ilia, on the other hand, still has guys like Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez, and Movsar Evloev waiting for him back at 145. So when Ilia says he's moving up, Belal sees it as a shortcut, not something that should instantly earn a title fight.
So now Topuria, who's, I think he's a little bit smaller than Volkanovski, he's going to move up. And then if Islam dominates him, oh, well, he's a 45er. He could go back down. So there's really nothing to gain for Islam from fighting him. So when he says, oh, let him fight somebody else, earn it. Like, he's not saying I won't fight him. He's saying, bro, let him earn it. Like, we already had to deal with this already. People are already shutting my resume. They're hating on me no matter what. So let him go out there, beat like a Charles Oliveira. Why would it have to be for a title? You vacated your title. You wanted to move up on your own. You didn't want to cut the weight. And it's not like you beat 10, you defended the belt like 10 times at 45 or at 5 times, right? When Volkanovski did it, he already beat everybody there. And, you know, he was earned his shot to move.
But even with all that, when Belal was asked who will win if the fight does happen, no hesitation, he still picks Islam. Why? Because Islam has already silenced the doubters. Belal points out how people thought Charles Oliveira would knock Islam out, but instead Islam dropped Charles and submitted him. They thought Dustin would outbox him. Islam outboxed Dustin and had the option to take him down at any moment. Belal puts it simply, you can think you've got good ground game until Islam's on top of you, and at that point, it doesn't matter what weight class you came from.
Topuria just did a good job of pushing him back to the cage. Do you think Topuria has a good shot against Makhachev?
Good question.
I don't. I really don't. I don't think so. I just think that Islam is a lot bigger than him, and Islam's going to change the game. He's going to mix it up. He's going to wrestle with him. And Islam can strike with him too. But I just think that Islam does everything so good. And Topuria is going to think I'm a hater, or people are going to call me a hater or whatever. But I'm just like, it's different. When you go with Islam, he showed you guys how good he is. People thought Oliveira would knock him out. He dropped Oliveira and tapped him out. They thought he couldn't box with Dustin Poirier. He boxed with Dustin Poirier. But he could also take you down anytime he wants and hold you there. And I know Poirier thinks that he has good ground game off his back, but nobody's good off their back when you're going against somebody that's just elbowing you and hurting you off your back.
Right after Bilal shared his thoughts, Demetrius Johnson also jumped into the conversation, and he kept it real. He's not dismissing Ilya, but he's clearly not sold on the idea of him jumping straight into a title shot against Islam either. In his eyes, if Ilya really wants that fight, he should first prove himself in the lightweight division. He's already beaten Max Holloway, so there's no point in running that back. Instead, Demetrius would rather see him face someone like Charles Oliveira, or another top name at 155, someone who can really test whether Ilya belongs in that weight class.
I'd like him to see fight Charles Oliveira, fight Max. Well, he already beat Max. Fight somebody.
That surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah, I know, right? Fight somebody at 155. Then if you become the number one contender, then there's no reason Islam shouldn't take that fight. And I think Islam is on board with that. I just think if he wants to come up and fight Islam right away, I think, you got to at least, that's my opinion. The whole MMA community will be like, oh, shut the fuck up, DJ, you know what you're talking about. For me, that's what I like to see.
He made it clear that if Ilya goes out there, gets a big win at lightweight, and earns that #1 spot, then there's absolutely no reason Islam wouldn't take the fight. In fact, he thinks Islam would be totally fine with it if Ilya worked his way up the right way. Demetrius knows some people might not like what he's saying, but from his point of view, that's just how it should be.
So I just want to ask you guys brought it up earlier, Ilya Topuria moving up to lightweight. If he does fight Islam Makhachev, you obviously fought both guys. How do you think that fight goes?
Yeah, so it's look, it just comes to can Ilya catch him? That's what is, and he definitely can. Ilya's very, especially with his approach. He really backs his strike and his boxing. He really knows that he will eventually find the chin, and he's stoic till that happens. You know what I mean? He is on task, and he doesn't, you know what I mean? He'll go, even if things aren't working, he's still going to try and find it. So I think Islam's going to be a tough matchup for him, because Islam can be quite defensive and safe. I think he's going to know he needs to play it safe with Ilya, because he knows Ilya's going to have that puncher's chance. But I just think them later rounds, is going to be very difficult for Ilya. So, but Ilya can, if he puts hands on anyone, like if he traps them, gets them where they don't want to be and lands a nice big shot, it's going to be game over. He can knock out anyone, even in the lightweight division. But yeah, I just believe that probably would be his.
So now, with Joe Rogan hyping the matchup and Chael Sonnen practically confirming it, this fight isn't just talk anymore. The pieces are lining up. And with UFC 317 right around the corner, it's starting to feel less like a rumor and more like an incoming war. Daniel Cormier's cautious optimism, Bilal Muhammad's skepticism, and Demetrius Johnson's call for Ilya to prove himself all add different layers to the conversation. Whether it's about earning your shot or simply showing up when the lights are brightest, everyone seems to agree on one thing: Islam Makhachev is no easy task. Ilya Topuria might be confident, but he's stepping into a whole new arena if this fight happens. Lightweight is Islam's domain, and anyone trying to take that crown better come prepared for a full-on storm. With opinions flying from all corners of the MMA world, fans are left buzzing with anticipation. If UFC 317 ends up being the battleground, it might just go down as one of the most talked about fights of the year. Do you think Ilya Topuria can shock the world, or will Islam continue his reign of dominance? Let us know in the comments below.